What's happening, everyone? James Hancock here. I want to start this video off with an apology. I've been doing this weird clicking sound with my mouth, and I'm not even sure how I do it because I can't even imitate it, but I've been watching some of the old videos, and I'll finish my sentences with a weird little kind of smacking or like tongue clicking thing. It's fucking awful. So I apologize if you've been listening to that, and thank you on top of that for sticking with the videos in spite of that ridiculous sound. This is me moving ahead, and I'm gonna power through a few souls in order to try to get a point into my intelligence, which I've got. And now it is time to move on to the next area, which I believe is the Dark Root Basin, because I want to take on this giant moss boss. Not moss, moth. Sorry, moss and moths are two different things, but I am a lisping, stuttering idiot, so sometimes the words get mixed up. When I was a little kid, this is actually no bullshit, I had to go to speech therapy when I was in pre-K. And my very first day of speech therapy, it was bad enough that I was one of like 4 kids in the school that had to go to speech therapy because I couldn't pronounce like my L sounds and things like that. But I showed up for first day of class wearing 2 left shoes, and I didn't notice that I was in pain. But as we were walking down the hallway of my pre-K, whatever elementary school, toward the class, I remember a friend of mine, Ryan Bradshaw, looked and goes, "You're wearing 2 left shoes." I was like, "What?" Anyway, I felt like a fucking moron, but here I am many, many years later, still struggling with my speech and my click sounds and all the other good stuff. So I'm just trying to work on my diction so I can sound melodious and soothing and all that good stuff. Anyway, these guys, they like to hit you from a distance. They're super easy to kill. I mean, 2 zaps, they're done. They move, but I'm not really worried about any of them. They occasionally, though, will grab you, and they'll pick you up, and they'll explode with a bunch of spikes in all directions. Not exploding spikes, but they just shoot their plants out, and that will fuck you up. Here's an easy item to miss, which a lot of people just run on by, but I have gone through here now enough times that I do not forget it. Now, up ahead here is a crossroads. You need 20,000 to buy this seek to way through that door, but there's a secret bonfire here, which is always nice to snag, especially if you plan on using the zone behind that door. The zone behind that door is one of the most popular PvP areas in the game from the days of old. It's still relatively active. The reason people go in there is that there is a covenant you can join that gives you access to this ring called like the ghost ring, but it allows you to not pull aggro or not cause aggro on mobs from a great distance, allowing you to basically just run through areas. The reason I turned human there is because there is an NPC that I want to summon for the upcoming boss. Once again, this walkthrough is not a chance to show off my ability to take down bosses by myself, although the next boss is easy as hell, but I just want to show you all aspects of the game. And the Witch Beatrice, one of the most important things about summoning her is that if you don't summon her for the next boss, you are unable to summon her for a much later boss, the Four Kings. Four Kings comes at the end of the New Londo Ruins, one of the most powerful bosses in the game. Not that hard of a boss to beat as a sorcerer because the Four Kings is really vulnerable to magic, so using Beatrice definitely helps. I've done Beatrice on that boss one time, and it definitely made the boss even dramatically easier than it already was. Although, when I played through as my faith build, I remember the Four Kings giving me the most trouble. So maybe it's not, maybe it's got a resistance to faith. At any rate, be careful about these little snake bastards hanging from the tree. If you whack them, sometimes they'll come down and kind of start walking after you. But if you get close, they will bite you and poison you. And now I've actually got mosses from fighting these guys where I can get rid of poison. But whoops, I almost got poisoned there. So it's not as big a deal as it was back in the depths. But still, getting poisoned is never a good idea. Especially if I don't have the spell Remedy equipped. Let's see if this was worth it. I think this is the Partisan. Yep, the Partisan, which is a weapon I've never used in any playthrough ever. I played with like a spear type weapon once on Dark Souls 3. And when my very first attempt at a playthrough, I was playing with the class. What's it called? Not Templar. What the hell is it? It's like a half warrior, half cleric. Herald, that's what it's called, the Herald. But its starting weapon is a spear with a shield, and I just hated it. I hated the range. I hated the way it operated. Real quick, always kill this guy before summoning Beatrice, because if you summon Beatrice, she will not follow you if there's any trash to be killed, and she's super squishy. I mean, she's great on this upcoming boss, but she's not so good against giant, like 10,000-pound iron knight dudes who can swat her with a sword the size of a fucking building. So kill the guy, then summon her. She's got insane sorcery skills, can basically take no hits of any kind, but in this upcoming boss fight, you can basically not fight, and she will just kill the boss for you. I've seen plenty of videos where people just kind of dance around and dodge. For me, I enjoy participating, so anyway, here she comes. Interesting thing also about Witch Beatrice is you can get all of her gear later in the game. After the Four Kings boss, there is a place where her gear will appear. I can't remember if she's there and she attacks you and you get it, or if you go there and like she hands it over. At any rate, here is the Moonlight Butterfly. He has at least 3 different kinds of ranged attacks that if they hit you, they will hit you hard. And you're going to see in this fight, I get hit more often than I should. But the Moonlight Butterfly is vulnerable to a bow, is vulnerable to crossbow, it's vulnerable to spells. You cannot melee him when he is floating around like that. The only time you can melee him is when he comes down to rest. And at that point, the spells don't really do anything anyway, so it's a good time to melee him. It looks like he's coming in for his rest, and the Witch has finally decided to participate. But you can tell that one shot of hers took off about 10% of his health. So now she's whacking him. Yeah, my dagger isn't doing a goddamn thing to him, and you want to not get hit by that. Boom! Witch Beatrice, obviously. Yeah, I mean, summoning NPCs on bosses is awesome, but you cannot count on them to understand strategy. Any nuance, I mean, that whole thing was right in my face. So just be aware of the fact that you constantly need to kind of grab the boss's attention and make sure that he's attacking you and that you're dodging so that NPCs can actually be helpful. I mean, there's some bosses like Manus. I think Manus for me is probably the hardest boss in the game. There are plenty of people that just shred Manus, but I have a lot of trouble with Manus. And one thing that's fun about it is summoning the little dog. I think it's Sif's guardian, or maybe it's just Sif, but it's like the really young small version of Sif. But having him there at least means that periodically Manus will be attacking somebody not named me, and it gives me a chance to heal or get my stamina back or whatever. So. Yeah, Moonlight Butterfly. Oh, now it's dead. Beatrice killed it. So, like you've seen, Beatrice is pretty damn powerful against that boss. And now Beatrice will be available if I want her, much later on for the Four Kings. And the Four Kings, it's a weird boss because you fight in the abyss and there's no floor, so it's really disorienting. And they're floating toward you from different directions, and it's hard to get a sense of space. And sometimes they're appearing behind you. At any rate, Four Kings is one of those bosses that kind of messes with me. Here is a key, as well as the Divine Ember. The Divine Ember is awesome for upgrading holy weapons. It's definitely one of the key upgrade items. Just occurred to me, I never turned in the large ember or whatever it is whatever I found in the depths. I think I just did my clicking sound. I apologize. I'm going to get rid of that clicking sound. But whatever it was that I found in the depths, I never turned in. So now I've got 2 things I need to turn into the blacksmith during my my next video. So right now I'm going to run down, finish off the trash in the immediate area, find an awesome armor set that I probably will never wear. But if you are someone who likes being just a big old badass knight-looking dude with, like a cavalier with big shield and kick-ass looking armor, this is a set you're definitely going to want to have in your collection. For me, even though I will never wear it, I just like having it. I don't know why. On every character, I just like having all the gear, all the armor sets, always having flexibility. Dark Souls 2, it gets much more into, like, if you want to completely respec a character and kind of start over with an entirely new build, you have that flexibility. Dark Souls 1, I'm not aware of this, but I've never looked into whether or not it's possible to respec in Dark Souls 1. I don't think you're able to respec in Dark Souls 1. You definitely can respec or redo your build in Dark Souls 2 and 3. But for me, the 99% of the fun of this game is playing through as a new build and learning that build as you go. So why someone would ever want to just cheat themselves from that experience by just reassigning all their ability scores? I guess if you get to the point where you're a complete and total badass player, you've already leveled up every class, but you've got some character that you want to use for PvP and you want to make some minor alterations, then I kind of understand. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of leveling up your player to 125 or 150 or whatever you feel like leveling it to, and then just changing it into a different class. They just level it up as the class that you want and kind of plan ahead. But to each their own. I will not judge you if you have a different view. This place is pretty damn easy, as you're seeing. I mean, those big guys, the thing you have to be aware of is if you get within melee range, they have this AoE attack they'll do that kind of roots you to the ground and makes it hard for you to move, and then they will beat the fuck out of you. But as a sorcerer, as long as they're shielded up, they're just so fucked. So anyway, I am going to kill this big tree that's blocking the entrance and go back and quickly get my spells back, because the next zone I'm going to need a few. I probably could do the next part of this area without getting any more spells, but why run the risk of dying or losing all my souls or all that kind of stuff? This is me making a wrong turn, but I didn't realize that the tree had moved in front of the entrance or the path that I wanted, so I'm now running back. What I'm trying to do is save up for 20,000 souls so I can get my ring that jacks up my sorcery spells. Not 100% convinced that's the best sorcery ring, because I haven't finished. Like, the way I do this is I have a test character where I play ahead and kind of learn my way around. And on that sorcerer, I'm around like level 75, so I'm getting pretty close to doing a full clear, but not a total full clear. But my goal is obviously to have that one always kind of figure things out so that when I do the playthrough for the video, I can just be direct. So I'm just fast forwarding through this part. You've already seen me kill these guys before. There's nothing new here. And now we're back to normal speed. But on my other tune, the Ring of Sorcery definitely has worked to my advantage. There's two. There's one that extends the duration of effects, and one that just extends like your overall sorcery power. The effects one obviously is great if you're using Chameleon or Invisibility or any of those things where you're trying to sneak past people. But I never really use a lot of the spells. They're really, really fun in PvP, like, you know, turning into something that looks like part of the environment, seeing if the player notices you and then sneaking up behind them. And, you know, invisibility can be super, super convenient if you're just tired of the trash in a certain area and just want to run past it. So, yeah, sorcerers do have a lot of spells that are just really practical and interesting, but if you're just playing the game and killing stuff, for the most part, sorcerers, you just need something that shoots straight and hits them hard, and there's just not a whole lot of variety to that. But later on, I will have a lot more variety to which kind of attack spells I have, but in general, it's just a lot of soul arrows and whatever the is it soul sphere? Or there's another one that's a little bit more powerful and a little faster that I get much later on from Big Hat Logan. These guys, they got these little tongue attacks, but once again, I'm a sorcerer, so they're just totally fucked. They're not going to have a chance, but in melee, they sometimes do a little bit of damage. I've never figured out if there's anything in this area apart from running around this corner for a soul, but there's this big giant lake here, and it seems like there should be something more to this zone than I'm aware of. But every playthrough I've watched and every time I've run through, I've never found anything else. But I don't know, it just seems like it's a big area with not a lot to show for it apart from a soul of the Proud Knight. At any rate, I move on because I just do not know. That might be the bottom of the area below where you fight this big-ass giant dragon when you get back in time for the expansion pack, but I might have my geography totally wrong. One final enemy in this area, just one more stupid knight guy. So yeah, a combination of heavy soul arrow and a normal soul arrow is all I need, and he is going to go bye-bye. And then we're going to get a ring that a lot of people really, really love. If you are playing as a clothy and you are tired of getting basically with one shot, losing all your endurance or getting staggered, there is a poise ring up here, and poise rings are pretty damn cool. I mean, they call it the wolf ring, but what it does is if you put that sucker on and you're fighting someone who's hitting you, you're not going to get staggered or lose as much endurance when you get hit. It's really, really useful for melee attacks, but this is back to familiar territory, but it's a cliff, so I got to run and jump up and over, and then I'll be back to where I was. This is basically the path where I came in for the hidden bonfire behind that wall. And that's the end of the zone. I mean, unless I want to spend 20,000 souls to go through that door and go work on some PvP and get that ghost ring, was something I'm not super concerned about doing. What I will be doing, though, is going in there because you can't see everything there is to do in Blighttown unless you talk to this one like samurai warrior looking dude named Shiva. If you talk to him there, then he will appear down in Blighttown. So just in that this is a full playthrough, I will be doing that. What I'll probably end up doing is just not recording a video where I farm the 20,000 souls, because any souls that I get from gameplay, I want to put into my points so you just see how you play, but there's no reason for y'all to watch me farm 20,000 souls just to buy a key. That's really slow, really boring. So anyway, I've got 20,000 souls now, but I want to get my sorcerer ring. So I'm running back to the beginning where that sorcerer vendor is. At some point, I need to also start putting some points into my attunement and buying some more sorcery spells, because this guy does sell a few extras and I have more variety and more attacks, but I haven't been running into a situation where I run out of spells yet, so I just haven't felt a huge need to do so, but at a certain point I will need to jack up which spells I am using. Now it is time to go back to the beginning of the game. So, and you'll see why in a sec. I'm putting on the sorcerer ring. That means I lost my Havel ring. Remember when I told you in a previous video, don't get married to the Havel ring or get used to it, because it creates an unrealistic feeling of safety to wear all that armor. So I've got to go back to the very, very beginning of the game in terms of my crummy little sorcerer set. I will be getting some better sets pretty soon that are relatively weightless and look a little cooler. I mean, the sorcerer set makes you look like, I don't know, like a medieval version of somebody who gets their books knocked out of their hands. Also, here is the pyromancer teacher. I felt like talking to him is to show you him. I'm probably not going to buy any pyromancy spells in this tomb, but he's the guy that I saved down the depths. I messed up and I got the answer wrong there, but don't worry, you can talk to him again and then get the answer right. He phrases it differently, so the next time, if you say yes the first time, that's wrong, but if you say yes the second time, that's right. So now I've got my little glove. I can jack it up if I want to. I can buy pyromancy spells. Those are the basic ones. And if you jack up your pyromancy flame as high as it can go, then when you get down to the bottom of Blighttown, the next pyromancy teacher will be there. And pyromancy is fucking awesome in Dark Souls, so there's no reason not to do it if you're into it. That's the reason I'm grabbing it now. I should have done that in the very beginning, but I forgot that it was there and I didn't get it. Also, pay attention to this snoring effect. There is one of the weirdest creatures in the history of Dark Souls asleep below this, but he will not come out until I've rung the second bell of awakening. So now it is time to go all the way back to the beginning of the game, which will be different. When you return to the beginning of the game, it's way harder. There's at least 2 Silver Knights. The Hollows now are carrying torches, and there's a giant boss hidden below the floor. I'm not going to mess with the boss. But the reason I'm going back is I want to get the Rusted Iron Ring. The Rusted Iron Ring will make the next boss fight, the Hydra, dramatically easier. So the key is to get here, line it up, and do a jump, which I fuck up, so I rolled instead and missed it. And so I dropped down because I suck at video games. So I'm going to fast forward it a bit and run back up and around. But anyway, you've seen me do this before. I did this at the very beginning of the game where I was grabbing a few souls. So getting back in position. Now you'll finally find out why that giant raven is up there. Do not kill that raven, because if you do, or do not attack him, because then you can't do this. Anyway, lining up again. Supposed to run and jump. I rolled again but got lucky and actually landed. Almost fell off because of an idiot. And walk up here. The only tricky part is that you have to roll onto this roof, grab this key, and once you have this key, that's going to unlock a very, very important door in the Undead Asylum, which will allow you to get access to the Rusted Iron Ring. Don't fall, because you will probably die because you're really high up, and run up the stairs and around. This is the kind of stuff, though, that just makes Dark Souls 1 so damn cool. The fact that you do get to backtrack and just, once again, vertical map, scary, and you're going back to where you came from to accomplish something. But like, I don't know how the first person figured this out, but you have to go into the nest and curl up like an egg. And the first time you do it, it takes sometimes like 30 seconds before the crow will notice you. But when the crow does notice you, it will, for whatever reason, decide that it needs to fly you. I don't know what birds make a habit of grabbing their eggs and flying them like halfway across the planet to other cities, but for whatever reason, he decides that's exactly what needs to be done. So I'm just letting the cinematic play, and he grabs me and decides to fly me away. Or maybe he's like, this does not deserve to be in my nest, but then you would think he would just grab me and peck me to death and kill me. Little slow motion action. At any rate, this is the very, very beginning of the game where you first build your character. And there's another nest here where I could drop some items and get some materials for making things. But I'm going to save that hassle until I return here for the last time to fight the boss that's here. Because the boss that's here, when you kill him, gives you this weird item that allows you to walk through a painting in Anorlando into the painted world of Aramis or Artemis, or I don't know, can't remember what it's called. It's an optional area, you don't have to do it, but I absolutely will be doing it because it's one of my favorite little mini zones in the game. But the only way you can go through that painting is by getting the item that is from the boss head. Now the boss is hidden, he's beneath the floor. That floor will collapse if you walk over it. He looks very similar to the boss from the beginning that I killed. I even pointed him out when I first created my character. I was walking by the bar saying, there's a boss, you will fight him much later. But we are still not remotely ready to take him on. So don't walk through the middle, you will fall through and he will kill you, and it sucks. Because we're going to be fighting a Silver Knight, I am going to hit this bonfire just as a little insurance policy, because if I didn't sit at the bonfire, I know he'd kill me and I'd feel like an idiot. So another thing is the guy who first gave you your Estus flask and a key, he's now finally gone hollow, and he's totally crazy now. He was a nice guy when we first met him, and he gave us some items, but he knew he was going hollow, and it's time to kill him, because once someone goes hollow, you cannot reason with them, and that happens with a couple of NPCs in the game, where they just lose their mind. I need to do a little research as to why some people just go hollow. But we got the crest shield out of that. Crest shield's awesome. It's the exact same weight and these exact same stats as my current shield with the grass crest shield, but it gives you a different resistance. It's magic. I probably have pretty high resistance to magic just because of my high intelligence, but this is me being an idiot. I forgot about the trap. The trap, even though you don't need the trap to open up the hole in the wall anymore, the trap is still there. But now we're basically back at the beginning of the game, and this guy is just stronger than before. And I'm failing to get my backstabs, but that's alright. We're just going to forget about him, because what we're here for is the Rusted Iron Ring. Nothing else matters. I really, really love the Hydra boss fight. It's not that hard. He's big. It's exciting. It's got interesting gameplay. But what the Rusted Iron Ring does, it allows you to walk in water at full speed and not be slowed down. You don't really need it for the Hydra fight, because you can kind of stand on the edge of the land and move full speed. But after you kill the Hydra, there's a golem or golem. I don't ever know if it's golem or golem, but it's really, really helpful to have the ring for that fight. So yeah, I pointed this out at the very beginning of my walkthrough. I looked up the stairs and said, there's an item which we will come back to later on, and here I am fulfilling that promise. Rusted Iron Ring. Snagged it. Because I'm here, I might as well grab the mat. I don't even know if I need the mat, because I think it's for flame weapons, but there is a Silver Knight down here, and I'm going to kill him just because the fact that he's down here just hanging out bothers me. And once I kill him, he'll never come back. So I roll ahead, roll back. He hits real hard. I mean, I'll probably take away a third of my health per hit. I'm using big slow spells, so yeah, he whacked me. But these guys, I always enjoy fighting them. Anyone who looks cool and fights fair, I'm always going to enjoy, no matter how hard they are, because they're not that complicated. And I don't know, maybe the one exception to that would be in Anorlando, when these motherfuckers get their giant great bows out and just start peppering you with these huge fucking arrows as you're trying to walk along a narrow ledge, which we'll be getting to sometime soon. But first I got to do Blighttown. After Blighttown, I have to do the crazy hot, like, spider naked chick boss at the bottom of Blighttown. Then we can ring the second bell, which will open up Sin's Fortress, and at the top of Sin's Fortress, we will finally go to Anor Londo. And Anor Londo, for some people, is the greatest achievement in the history of Dark Souls in terms of design, boss fights, feeling of accomplishment when it's finished. It's awesome. And there's a reason why Anor Londo, the ruins of Anor Londo, are part of Dark Souls 3. Every single player of Dark Souls 1, when they're playing Dark Souls 3 and they are walking along and all of a sudden realize, like, oh, I'm starting to recognize where I am. What the fuck? Oh my god, I'm in Anor Londo. It's the ruins and you can't explore it fully, but it's just an incredible, like, kind of like secret wink to the loyal Dark Souls players. Like, yeah, we know you love this place. We know it caused you hell and pain and a lot of emotional trauma, but it's back. And so yeah, Anor Londo is the best connective tissue between Dark Souls 1 and 2. Anyway, so curl up. Now it's going to be fast. Anytime I want to go to and from now, it'll be fast, like I said, but I'll only be coming back one more time because I just want to kill that boss and get my little thing. And there's one more Silver Knight, but you can't get to that Silver Knight until you kill the boss. So to get back down, it's not that hard. You just got to be careful so you don't fall to your death like a boob, because you will teleport back to the previous bonfire, so you don't want to do that. But there's a little hole here with light coming through. You will take damage, so you won't full health, but if you just drop down through, you're good to go. You'll drop down next to these faith freaks. And then we are going back to the bonfire. So anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a comment or a like or whatever, or subscribe if you did. And give me a shout on Twitter at Colbrax. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying this series. I'm having a fucking blast making them, and I'm definitely more determined than ever to rip through this, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and I'm hoping by the time I'm done with my 3 series that the expansion pack for 3 will come out and that community will be real active and engaged, making it a really fun, exciting experience. So thank you so much for watching, folks, and I hope you have fun playing Dark Souls. Bye-bye.